Arrested Lonmin miners will be conditionally released, and Spain's to consider seeking extra financial aid from Europe. Good afternoon, I'm Tracy Baumgard. 270 Lonmin miners arrested and charged with the murder of 34 of their colleagues will be conditionally released. Acting NPA head Nongliba Jiba says the murder charges against the miners have also been provisionally withdrawn. The initial decision to charge the miners with murder has been severely criticized by jurists and opposition parties. The 34 men were shot dead during confrontations between striking miners and police at Marikana in the northwest on August 16th. Jiba made the announcement in Pretoria.
The murder charge against the current 270 suspects, which was provisional anyway, will be formally withdrawn provisionally in court on their next court appearance. That the miners or protesters or the accused persons are to be released conditionally on warning and their case postponed pending the finalization of investigations.
Disaster management officials in Cape Town say the oil slick from the wreck of the bulk carrier Sally 1 is dissipating. Oil started leaking from the wreck in rough seas on Friday. Disaster management's Wilfred Solomons Johannes says a so-called oil finger of 1.5 kilometers in length and 3 meters wide is moving offshore between Cape Town Harbour and Robben Island. He says mopping up operations on beaches will resume tomorrow.
No marine life is endangered at this stage, or any birds has been oiled. There's no deaths been recorded as such, and we are in close cooperation working with the SANCOP to assist us if there's any oil birds that need to be rehabilitated, and they're also conducting regular inspections on the beach.
Spokesperson for the Department of Environmental Affairs, Feroza Alberto Stanley, says they've taken precautions to prevent further oil pollution.
We're also planning to boom off the Milton Lagoon as a precautionary measure. Coburg is in no danger at the moment because we don't expect the spill or the oil to move that far north.
One person has died and 17 more injured when a Greyhound bus collided with a Volkswagen microbus outside Colesberg in the Karoo. Northern Cape Police spokesperson Andrea Kluter says those injured are in a stable condition in the Colesberg hospital.
There were 17 passengers in a Greyhound bus. A Greyhound bus and a microbus collided. There was, out of the 70 passengers, there was one casualty. Only one casualty was there. So the others is still fine. They are in a stable condition.
Arson is expected in last night's deadly fire at the upmarket Mataffin Hill Lodge outside Nelspruit. Spokesperson William Brutnell says it seems several fires in the area were started on purpose. He says guests had to be evacuated to a lodge in Nelspruit after the fire surrounded the lodge. Brutnell says part of a thatch roof has been damaged. He says guests will be returning to the lodge later today.
We did hear from some of the guys that were here that were from the firefighting teams that they'd been dealing with this for a couple of days now, where and it was mentioned by one of them that they'd found these diesel canisters that had been left in places where they'd been fighting the fires, and as soon as they'd kill one fire and the wind picks up, another fire would start elsewhere. So there was talk of that, and that it could have been set purposefully. Yeah.
Further afield, Spain will consider seeking extra aid from Europe on top of a 800 billion rand rescue of its financial sector. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy says he wants to see details of the European Central Bank's program to buy debt of Eurozone countries with high borrowing costs before deciding whether to proceed with a request. ECB board member George Asmussen earlier said the ECB should only buy sovereign bonds of troubled Eurozone states if the International Monetary Fund was involved in setting conditions. Spain is already struggling to implement austerity measures to reduce its debt burden and rescue banks hit by a collapse in property prices.